Tech News Weekly is sponsored by Hover.com. Go to gfu.hover.com and get 10% off your entire purchase. FreshBooks. FreshBooks is an easy-to-use online invoicing service that saves you time, gets you paid faster, and makes you look professional. Get started completely for free at freshbooks.com. And by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook by going to audiblepodcast.com/GFQ.
Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome everybody to Tech News Weekly. I am Andrew Zarian, your host, and I'm joined by Sunkast, as I am each and every week. How you doing, Sunkast?
Hey, Andrew. How's it going?
Good. Eric Lanigan is not here this week. He's on every other week, so Eric should be on next week. And I know you're not going to be here next week, right?
No, I'll be down in Nashville for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it should be a fun time. Boy, I'm exhausted this week. Today is Jessica's birthday, my wife's birthday. So I'm going to be rushing through a lot of the shows because we got to be out of here by 7:30. And our last show,
tight schedule.
It's a very tight schedule. I've been on the air since noon, actually. We did another live hair transplant with YouTube sensation Kevin Noltz. Kevin Noltz. Dr.
Bauman.
And Dr. Alan Bauman,
that was very impressive, the way they had it set up and everybody was coordinated.
Yeah, they actually had it. I'm not too sure, but I think the people that were handling it were the I don't think I could say who they were, but they weren't from YouTube. We actually broadcast it on YouTube Live for the first time. The guys handling it had great equipment. They had that the Black Magic distribution, like the video distributor, which is a very impressive piece. And I'm supposed to get my hands on it very, very soon, so stay tuned for that. I'm also in the process of building Spencer an i7 machine.
Nice.
You know what? And this is tying in, of course, with tech, but there's new Intel chips that are out on the market, and they're the 6-core i7s. The new Sandy Bridge 6-core i7s, which are very, very impressive, and the pricing is not bad either.
I think if you're going to build a machine these days and you need power, it's i7 or nothing.
Now, do you think I should go with the 6-core, or should I stick with the quad-core i7?
It depends on how much more money it is, and if you want to spend that much more money.
Let me see here, and actually, the viewers will get a kick out of this. Actually, so let me just see.
Because I think it's to me, it's kind of a no-brainer. It's like, well, if you don't mind spending the cost to go to 6 cores, why not?
Yeah, well, there is a 2700 Sandy Bridge, the 2700. I have the 2600K. There's a 2700 now. Which is, let me see here. Let me just sort this. Sorry, give me 1 second, guys. I know I'm being extremely unprofessional. There's a 2700, and then there is the, God, where are they? I guess it's not sorting it properly. It was here yesterday.
I'll just Google it.
Yeah, I'll just Google. But there are new chipsets. There are new chipsets from Intel that are very impressive, and they're not that expensive. I think for $380, you could get a 6-core Intel chipset. Which is great, which is phenomenal. You know, AMD's kind of fallen.
There was a rumor that I saw today across the news feeds that Apple was looking at AMD for their MacBook Airs, I think.
Yeah, no, it would be a bad choice.
I was like, I've just never really been a fan of AMD.
I've seen that story come out for the last couple of years, that AMD will be the selection for them, but it's never. Oh, you know why? The pricing is off. That's why. I totally screwed up here. I put the wrong price. Let me cancel this. I think now I'll be able to find it.
Come on, get your act together.
Yeah, okay, here we go. So there's the 3930K, which is $600. It's a 3.2 gigahertz with 3.8 gigahertz turbo, 6-core. It's 130 watt. So they're hot.
Listen,
chips.
if you can afford it, I say go for it.
Then they have the 970 and the 980, which they've had for a while. Then they have the 2700K, which is a quad core. It's a 3.9 gigahertz turbo quad core. So they have a couple of these chipsets that are out, and I believe there's like 2 more in between. So you could actually get a really fast machine because those quad-core Intels are really fast.
Yeah, it's like I said, to me, there's no comparison between AMD and Intel.
There's no way I could actually do what I'm doing if I didn't have a i7.
Yeah.
There's no
totally.
possible way. There's no possible way at all. So I just wanted to go into that because a lot of people constantly talk about the chipsets and what to use and what not to use, and I think Intel is the right one to go with. But there's a lot of news surprisingly this week. I have I guess we could go into the Kindle stuff, right? What do you think?
Yeah, because you got one this week when they came out, right?
I have a Kindle right here. I have a Amazon Kindle here, and I guess I could show you guys. I did a little demo with Paul. I'm not going to show you the screen because I have to show you guys something else, but it's grown on me. I think...
Really?
Yeah, it grew on me. At first, I loved it, and then I started playing with it a little bit, and I said, you know what? This thing is missing a lot of stuff that I like on the iPad, but you have to realize this is a $200 device. The iPad is a $500 device, so there's a big gap there. There's a giant gap there, and you're going to see that with the hardware and with the specs as well, but this is a phenomenal device. This is a nice little tablet that really does a lot, and Amazon backing it has been great. The only thing is you kind of need to be involved in the environment, and I know a lot of people say, well, to be invested in Apple, it's going to cost you money because you need to use iTunes. You got to buy music there. Some people buy the video there, but you really don't. I think with the Kindle, you get a better experience if you actually get in the environment, such as the cloud service that they have, their music service, which they have, and the Prime service that gives you instant video. So I think you're spending a little bit more money with this device.
Isn't Jessica supposed to be using this?
She is using it. I've been playing around with it because I'm pretty much I'm gonna root it very soon.
You're gonna screw it all up.
I'm gonna screw it all up. Yeah, because I'm not too crazy about that carousel look.
I was in a Target, I believe yesterday, and they had a Kindle Fire demo unit, and I don't know if it was just because it was a demo unit and it was set up for a demo basically, and as a demo I was not impressed whatsoever with it at all. And it's like you were saying on Tuesday, that carousel thing is just awful. The way it's so glitchy and jumpy. I had such a hard time, even just with the demo unit, trying to scroll through that. It was very impractical to use. And then I went to use the browser on it because it has that Silk browser, and I wanted to try that out. But they had a stupid demo video. So every time you go to the browser, it just pulls up a demo of the browser. You don't actually get a chance to use it whatsoever. So my first impression of it is a little skewed because of that.
So I don't know what Paul thought of it, because I was talking to Paul on Wednesday when I was doing this demo, and he was excited to get it, and he sent me an email, and I guess let me see what he said here, because he absolutely hated the Kindle Touch, and he said it's a piece of crap, pretty much. He said, I love it except for the carousel thing. I wish you could turn that off, which I got to send him an email because you can.
That was basically all I could do with the Kindle Fire demo unit at Target, and it was just...
He said the bigger issue was with the Touch, and the Touch is a piece of junk, and that he's actually returning it because it's so bad.
What did he say was bad about it?
Just the entire environment. I'm not too sure, and I know he wrote it on his blog. So if you go to winsupersite.com, you can pretty much read what he wrote there about the Touch. But he said he was an absolute fail, and it was pointless. But I'll tell you, I like this a lot better. And I don't know if you could see the screen, I don't have a carousel on this thing. I don't know if you could see it there. Let me see, maybe a little closer.
I think right now that's kind of what it needs. Is it needs to have everybody develop for it a little bit further before work some of the stuff out, because it is a first generation device. So I think that in itself is limiting to start with. It's like any new device.
Yeah, it's a first gen device.
To be limited.
It's a first-gen device, and this is the thing. It's a first-gen device with not so amazing hardware, right? I mean, it's good hardware, but it's not amazing hardware. And
I do think once you get rid of the carousel and open it up a little bit, it'll be a great device.
Well, once I root this thing and put ice cream sandwich, it'll be a great thing.
Right. And that's what I'm saying is once you get the ability to do a little bit more than what Amazon's built into it, it'll be a great device. As it stands now, I'm not very impressed with it. But then again,
but
my
again,
impression was a little skewed.
Yeah, it's skewed because you didn't have a great experience with it because you were running a demo. But it's also a $200 tablet. And in order for the market to survive and in order for the market to do well, you need these $200 sub $200 devices on the market. And I think this is a great thing that Amazon has done because it's providing the consumer with another option. I don't think, the iPad is an anomaly, and I don't think anybody is going to come near what the iPad is doing because it's Apple doing it. And it's a great device. I would not pay $400 for an Android tablet. There's no way I would do that. I would pay $400 for a Windows tablet because you're getting the Windows experience.
Right.
I don't think Android is going to survive in that. I think where Android is going to do really well is the sub $200 category with these devices. And I think the sales have proven that this is a great device. And people are going to buy it. It's pretty fast, though, I'll tell you. I removed the carousel, and I have just standard... I guess I'll save it, but I'll save it for the pick of the week. But it is running pretty well for me, and I actually... I do like it now that I've done a couple tweaks to it. We'll see what happens, though. I'm sure there's going to be updates very soon.
Right, right, yeah. And like I said, it's just, until people have it in their hands, they're actually able to, play around with it. It's going to be bare minimum, bare bones type of system. I actually do like their music service because I have all my stuff now on the cloud and I have all my songs there. On Amazon?
On Amazon, yeah. I upload it. It's apparently, and I got the 50 gig Amazon cloud storage. So now I have 50 gigs in the cloud, which is great because I could always use it. But I forgot that music is unlimited. That's only for non-music stuff.
Right.
So you could upload your music for free with their standard cloud storage and have unlimited amount of music. So I have about 50 gigs worth of music on the cloud now. And now I have it in the Amazon environment. I have it in the Amazon Music Store.
How do you like it? Do you think it... I don't know, because nowadays you have several services that are very similar. You have the newly launched Google Music. You also have iTunes Cloud now, and then you have Amazon and a couple of other ones, I believe.
Well, you have Spotify. You have the Amazon. You have iMatch. You have
the
Google
Amazon.
Music.
There you go with the again.
I know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know with the. But you have all these different services. I think a lot of people are just paying out and they're doing it. I guess we'll talk about iTunes Match for $25 a year. And I think this is the best deal out of all of them. It pretty much takes all your MP3s, regardless of it being legitimate or pirated or ripped. If it matches the tags, it validates it and says it's a genuine copy. And now you have 256 kilobit quality, DRM-free AAC files, which is phenomenal. That's the
I
best
think that's
deal.
really cool. I'm just wondering about the technology behind it. So, by what you were saying there, it just doesn't make sense to me because then you could take any MP3 file and basically name it anything with the meta tags.
Yeah,
and iTunes would match it.
iTunes would match.
See, that's too easy.
Oh, so you're thinking, yeah, but the mentality is. Oh, so you're saying I could take any file theoretically and name it and meta tag it to be an album. Yeah, but what you're saying,
you could take any MP3 file and change the name and the meta tags to fit whatever song you want and make iTunes match it. And see, that's just doesn't make sense whatsoever to me to have a system that would allow for that.
That's also a lot of work. If you're going to go through that work, why not just download it on torrent?
What if you get a new song,
I don't know. I think I'm curious on how this is going to stop pirating. I know the idea is that it validates it. Now you're in the environment and you're more likely to buy the music because everything is there. But what if I still buy, I do the iTunes matching and I still start downloading a bunch of crap off the internet, off torrents, and then I put it in iTunes and iTunes keeps validating these songs?
Well, it has to. See, this is what I'm talking about is what do they use to base their results on? What are they what are they doing to determine if something is valid or not valid?
I
They
have
have
not-
to have some sort of check system.
I haven't done iMatch yet, iTunes Match service, because a lot of my songs, the tags are all screwed up. So, and I have full albums that I've ripped from CDs that say track 1, track 2, track 3, track 4. So I need to go back and find out what these are and I guess retag them so iTunes could validate them. Because it's going to be a waste if maybe a couple thousand songs are invalidated. My tags are totally screwed up. I'm pretty much halfway through.
See, I would think that it works on a combination of factors regarding the name of the file, the meta tags, but then also like some of these similar servers like Shazam and like Shazam, you just play a track and it tries to guess what it is. Something like that seems more logical to me to try and validate whether a song is what it is or not.
I don't think it's that intelligent. I think it's just reading tags.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's just going to read tags.
But
I don't
then
think
in the
the software-
future, couldn't you just take any MP3, copy it, name it anything you want with the meta tags, and iTunes would give you that song for free?
You know what? I'm curious to see if that's possible. We should try that next week. I'm going to get it probably.
What if next week a new song comes out that you really like? You just copy one of your existing MP3s, rename it something else, and put in all the meta tags. Does iTunes match that?
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I'm curious. What if you just keep renaming the same song, the same, I guess, same X amount of files?
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. That's actually. We should try that next week. I'm just curious to see if it'll work.
I mean, you should try that next week.
Yeah. The royal we I'm using. But it is a pretty decent service. At the same time, Google launched their music service. What do you think of the Google Music service? Do you think we just have way too many music
part
services?
of it has been around for a while. It was in beta. It's not in beta anymore, but they've also added the music store, and that's what they didn't have before. Google Music existed in beta form where you could upload up to 20,000 songs for free, which is the bonus there compared to iTunes is that it's free. And the other difference is that, well, iTunes, you can do 25,000 at most, but what happens when you run out of 25,000? Whereas Google Music, you can just upgrade your account to more.
Yeah. I had it installed. The issue is every time you do like a format, it doesn't necessarily. I don't know. Is it in the cloud? I don't know. Does it put it all in the cloud or just?
Yeah, it's
because
well,
I
upload
uninstalled it.
It's a manual process. It doesn't do any sort of matching.
Okay, it doesn't match anything.
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, so that's the problem, I guess, right? If you're a stickler for your songs to be organized, it's not really matching anything.
Right.
It's not organizing it.
It's for Google Music is more for the type of people that already have a music collection that they just want to put on the cloud.
Yeah, I just logged into Google Music, and I'm looking at the songs that I have there, and it doesn't do a great job at meta tagging either. Like, it doesn't, it'll just grab whatever is in the file. It doesn't have its own catalog. But I guess that'll change now because they do have a catalog of songs in their library.
Well, that is pretty cool that they have their own music store now, which is a big benefit to Android and T-Mobile customers that have access to that store now.
You know what they still don't have? They don't have podcasts.
Do they need podcasts, though? I guess that is a difference. See, iTunes is a service that's already been a standard for 10 years now. How do you compete with something that's been around for 10 years?
Well, the podcasts have been around for, 7 years?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're going to be able to match iTunes in the same way. You're not going to be able to create an iTunes killer right out of the box. It's
no,
just
you
not
won't.
possible with a service that's been around for 10 years.
But considering that these devices are your computers, right? They're your all-in-one resources. If you have a Google phone, if you have an Android phone, which majority of smartphones now are Android phones, don't you think they would need something? I mean, that's why they created the music store. I'm sure they're going to add it over time, but I'm surprised that we haven't seen it. They have something called Google Listen, which is a half-assed version of, I guess, Google Music or a way to get your podcasts. It's done very poorly, and you submit the feed, and it'll grab the feed like that, but nothing that has like a directory of stuff.
But isn't this kind of what we've seen of Google for the past couple of years now where, stuff is in perpetual beta and
Yeah.
it's never quite finished and polished the same way as an Apple product is.
I think Google Listen was the starter for Google Music. I think that's how it started.
Here's one of the things that I take issue with, and this really kind of bugged me when they had the Google Music announcement. I saw a couple tweets come out, and it was just like, well, here's one that's a hardcore Android Google fanboy saying it's the best thing ever, and it totally pwns Apple. And then I have another guy that sent out a tweet that said, no thanks, I'm just fine with iTunes and Apple stuff. And it's completely opposite, and I don't like people that are such fanboys.
Yeah, I think well, people pick sides.
I can see the points for both things. I think to each their own. You know what I'm saying? Each has their pros and cons, and I don't think one is necessarily better than the other.
No, I think they both, I think you're absolutely right. The problem is most people can't see it that way.
I mean, I think in regards to Google Music is great. I mean, starting off right away, it doesn't cost you any money, whereas iTunes Match will cost you at least $25 a year. In that regards, Google wins. But you also have to look at iTunes being an established product already.
Yeah, I if you're talking MP3s, I still think iTunes wins. If you're talking music, if you're talking a source for music, I think iTunes wins. I think that people are familiar with it.
Plus TV shows and movies.
It has
and Google just doesn't have that. Not even Amazon, I don't think necessarily comes close to iTunes in that regard.
Yeah, but again, they don't have offline use, right? None of them have offline.
I'm not sure about that.
It's cloud based. iTunes is
Right.
not. iTunes is on your desktop. And it has a client. Same thing with Zune. Zune has a client.
Kind of iTunes Match and iTunes iCloud stuff is kind of like a sync. It syncs files. I don't know, since I haven't used any of these products, I don't know all of the ins and the outs of those finer points.
And again, do you trust Google enough that you're going to jump headfirst into this environment and go with Google Music? I mean, we've seen what they've done with certain projects where they just kill it. They don't give too much support. I know there's a lot of money invested with the record labels, but will this become a prominent source for music? Will we start using Google Music as the source? Same thing with Amazon. I mean, Amazon, who's going to Amazon to download music? You know, this is another thing.
I think they both know that you can't offer a service like that where you upload a large amount of data and then say, oh, well, we're done with this and we're not going to give any of your data back, and you're just going to have to lose it.
No, not that you're going to lose it, but are they going to lose interest in developing it?
I think that's very possible.
Are they going to say, well, you know what, it's been 3 years, we really have not reached the level that we want to be. We'll still keep it, but we won't really invest our time and effort into it. I mean, we have seen them do this in the past. So, and Google has this beta mentality.
But then again, Google also has more of an interest in doing something like this because they do have their Android mobile operating system. So the two do kind of go hand in hand. It's not just a service that's solely on the internet. It also ties in with their Android smartphones.
Yeah. Well, why don't we talk about again, let's go to the smartphones. Android leads the way in mobile malware. And none of us are surprised over this. I mean, we've been saying this for a long, long time. In a blog post recently, they found Android malware has soared up 472% this past July. In particular, October and November has seen the fastest rise in Android malware since Google unveiled the platform.
Tell me, is that not a staggering statistic right there?
It is. It absolutely is. And the reason why this is happening is because it's an open platform with an open marketplace and a loosely governed marketplace and average people using the software. When you put this device in everybody's hand, they don't see this as a computer. They see this as their phone. So they're going to put everything. They're going to, oh, yeah, this is funny. I'm going to download this. I'm going to download this. I'm going to download this.
It makes it a bigger target.
It makes it a much larger target. and it's a less protected device. Who's putting antivirus on their phones? Who's thinking that way?
Well, that's another story that I have on our list.
Well, we'll get to that. Yeah, we'll get to that. I know there were some more stats here. Number of Android malware samples collected in October rose 110% over September, and 171% of those collected in July.
Just
Further,
what?
What's the company's name? Juniper?
Yeah, Juniper.
Juniper malicious mobile threat reports released this past May discovered 400% increase in Android malware from 2009 to 2010. It's a open platform. This is what's going to happen.
I think in large part it's because of the app store that they have. It's so loosely governed that anybody with $25 can submit an application, and it's not until a large amount of people complain about it that Android and Google will do something about an application that has malware in it.
But in
that regards, I think they do have some obligation to screen their applications so that all these people that have Android smartphones don't go start downloading applications that are infected with malware.
Do you feel that people even know if they're infected?
No.
Yeah, how do you even know? How do you...
Well, that's just it. How do you know?
Exactly.
A lot of times it's just siphoning data off, and it doesn't give you any tells. It's all done in the background. I mean, it'll just... I know on some of them, I don't know about other ones, but some of them will actually just send a text message or an email, and it'll delete that email after it's sent, so you have absolutely no way to tell that there's even an email that was sent off.
Yeah, most people can't even tell. This is going to be... You know, we talk about desktop viruses, and people say, well, the Mac is becoming less safe because they're realizing that it's an open platform now. Most Mac users don't know much about antivirus, and they don't really care to use it, which is correct. I think this is the number one target because you have hundreds and millions of phones out in the market.
With a ton of
with a
great
ton of
information for people
absolutely.
to steal.
You have contact info. You have everything on there. And it's totally unprotected. Totally unprotected. Nobody, and I'll tell you, they'll start putting antivirus on these things, and I know people will buy antivirus, they sell them. I don't think anybody, the majority, will never install an antivirus on the phone because it's a disposable device.
Well, it's not only that, but in my honest opinion, and I've been following this for a while now, antivirus applications on smartphones just seem such like a dumb idea to me because I don't understand how any of them are ever going to be effective at this point.
Well, what was that story that they're not effective?
They're not. No, there was a report out. I forget who it was from. Let me see if it's in my notes here. Android leads the way in mobile malware. I think that was the ones that you were just reading. And then free Android antivirus apps fail to cut it. There's a lot of free antivirus applications out there for Android. And I think there's even a couple for BlackBerry that I know of. And it just seems so silly to me that you need an antivirus application, first off. And secondly, like BlackBerry, do you really need it on a BlackBerry? Because that is a pretty secure platform. But then you do have Android where you are seeing malware, but at the same time, you see these malware applications, but they're just not effective. Let me see one of the stats here. They were saying that, it was only between 10 and 32% for these applications to actually find detections. So they were at most only finding 32% of the malware-infected applications on there. Now, the commercial applications did fare a little bit better at about 50%. But you're still looking at only, 1 out of 2.
Yeah.
And that's really, really, really scary. I just don't... The environment that Android is, I just don't think is right for antiviruses. Mobile applications and just mobile devices in period, it seems very bizarre for me to think that you need and that there could be an antivirus application that does work in those environments.
But also, you have to also remember,
new thing that Well, it's like, you remember, back in the, early 90s, you rarely heard about antivirus applications, right?
Yeah, I mean there were a few, but nothing.
Yeah, there was
really.
a few, but now if you look at the scope and how many antivirus applications are out there for a desktop PC running Windows, there's a staggering amount. I mean, you probably couldn't count on how many applications there are on both hands.
Yeah, I mean, but again, here's the thing though. Antivirus, you're not talking about a 99-cent app. We have not come to that point where we are used to spending $10 or $15 on an application on your phone. We don't want to do that.
Most people want to spend that much money.
No, but how much do you think an antivirus is going to be? $10 at least.
I think if somebody could actually create an application that does a real effective job at protecting you, then it would be worth, $15-20. But as it stands now, even the commercial ones at best only get 50% of the malware that's out there on Android smartphones. So it's a big loss. That to me is a big reason why someone should not go and get an Android device just because of that.
Yeah.
To me, that's a huge risk, especially when you look at, you said between July and now, it rose nearly 500%. That's not even 6 months. What's going to happen in another 6 months? Another 500%? When is this going to stop? When is malware going to get controlled by Google? When is Google actually going to start doing something about this?
Well, they're going to have to start implementing it in the OS. I think what's going to happen, it's going to get so big, and just like how Microsoft has done, it's
but why can't they
in
do
the
like
OS.
Apple and just stop it at the source? Screen the applications.
Just close the stupid marketplace. Make it tighter. Look at Amazon does a much better job at their marketplace than Google does.
Yeah, see, even Amazon screens their applications.
I'm looking here in the Amazon App Store, and they do a much better job.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't necessarily see. I don't know if it because Amazon is a little bit of a smaller store, but you don't necessarily hear about getting malware from the Amazon App Store.
Yeah. I want to talk about SOPA just a little bit. I don't want to go too much into it because next week we'll do a longer thing, but this is getting a little scary. I actually just got an email. I signed a petition. Fight for Our Future. I think it's fightforthefuture.org. And it's just giving a summary of what's going on. It says, last week there was a small meeting at Mozilla to discuss SOPA, the internet censorship bill. It was eerie. The DC group were practically screaming that this bill is the worst ever seen, and we can't stop it, while everybody else barely heard about it. This is really scary. And last week, a lot of websites, it's a little code that you just put in, and it like censored the website. And it showed what could potentially happen if the internet started getting censored in that way. Sites like Tumblr, Mozilla, Reddit, 4chan. I mean, these are sites that might disappear because of this censorship that might go on the internet. It's a very scary thing. I think, for what the internet is with its flaws, it has to be left open and left the way it is.
Right.
I'm looking here. Over 6,000 sites signed up. Over 1 million emails to Congress. Over 3,000 handwritten letters. Tumblr user called Congress. 87,000 called Congress. 53 seconds average length of call. 31 minutes longest call. 1,200 total hours speaking to representatives. Mozilla starter page, protect the IP. So they have one. Tumblr started blocking out certain parts of your blog. 4chan started censoring its site. Boing Boing did the same. A lot of people are behind this, and rightfully so, because this is
not
a
only
scary
that,
thing.
but there's I read earlier this week there was a group of 9 companies, major companies from like Google and Mozilla, that wrote to Congress and sent out a letter and actually had a full page ad in the New York Times saying they were against this.
I'm blown away how people are for this.
But if you look at that, I don't understand, because to me, this is not the way to go about. There's too many negatives that come with this Stop Online Piracy Act and the Protect IP Act.
Well, this is it undermines the safe harbor of the DMCA pretty much.
Yeah,
and the framework that it allowed.
The RIAA and the MPAA are the ones that are really pushing this, and a couple of people in Congress are really pushing this, but none of these people really understand what's going on here.
No,
they're
and
being
none of
led
them
by the RIAA and the MPAA.
Yeah, and this is the problem. These people, even these politicians that are for this, do know nothing about technology.
Right.
They know absolutely zero about technology, and they're just going based on whatever they think is right. They do not understand what can potentially happen if something like this is implemented to the internet. Websites will be shut.
I think this is very clear because this week they had, I believe, a committee meeting. I'm not sure if it was judiciary or what it was exactly, but they invited a bunch of experts that were for the Stop Online Piracy Act to talk and say they're all for this. But then some of the congressmen or senators were asking questions that the RIAA and the MPAA could not answer because they were not experts in the questions that they were being asked.
Yeah.
One of these questions was about DNSSEC or DNS security. And there was a couple of people that said that this whole DNSSEC thing and SOPA just are incompatible, and it actually undermines DNS security. So in that regards, you're breaking the web and you're making it less secure and more unstable.
Well, look at this. If it were to pass, these are the things that would be implemented. Website blocking. The government can order service providers to block websites that infringe links posted to by any user. So pretty much, Google will be held accountable. If you go on my website and you post something linking to pirated software, something that is against what they're trying to do, my website will be shut down. Risk of jail of ordinary users. It becomes a felony with the potential of 5-year sentence to stream a copywritten work that would cost more than $2,500 a license, even if it is totally non-commercial use. For example, singing a pop song on Facebook. Thousands of sites that are under the DMCA would face new legal threats. I mean, this is just insanity. This is insanity that we're talking about this.
Oh, totally. I agree with that. And it also comes down to what I was saying a couple of weeks ago is there's just so much copyright content out there that it's impossible to know every time that you're infringing on copyright and that you're going to get in trouble. And it's just like you're going to make people so fearful that they're not even going to have a website anymore. They're not going to try and invent these new services that YouTube would never exist under something like this. YouTube would never exist.
YouTube would never exist. Nobody would do a parody song. You would not have how much, and this is weird to say, but the fact that people have pirated in a way, put music videos of bands and done cover songs of musicians, that has elevated their career along with the musician's career.
Right.
If I want to hear a song, the musicians do not make their money from the songs. They make their money from the touring and the concerts.
Right.
It actually it's marketing. It's selling the brand rather than the song, and that's what's valuable to them. If I can't look up a song that I would be interested in buying, and I'm probably not going to buy it.
I think
it's a different way of doing business.
What it comes down to is that there's just too many negatives to this for it to be something that should pass. I'm not saying that I'm against some sort of copyright reform or legislation similar to this, but there's just, in this regards, there's just too many bad things with it.
Uber said it right. It's a Nazification of the internet for the U.S. It's a very, very, very scary concept, and the fact that it's gone this far is actually quite shocking because when I first heard it, I initially thought it would just go away. We've seen this happen in the past.
You got to even look at it. Even these bigger companies like Google and Mozilla and everything they do, even they could get in trouble and have their websites taken down in a split second because of this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very scary. We're going to do one more story. It's going to be a short show because I have to pack in another show here today. And then I got to be out the door, but I need to start getting dressed and leave, and it's my wife's birthday. So it's going to be a little shorter than usual this week. But last week we went a little longer, so that's good. You want to pick one more story and then we do our picks?
Yeah, let me see which one I want to pick here. Let's see. I want to kind of talk about this Department of Justice report, or not really a report, but an article that came out saying that Department of Justice wants to have legislation brought up that would make lying on Match.com a crime. I don't know if you read this article or not, but to me, it's just such a crock that they would even suggest something like this.
Yeah, I again, this is getting a little weird. I understand anonymity to an extent could be dangerous on the internet, but it's also extremely necessary on the internet. And we spoke about this last week to an extent. But
you know what this feels like to me is Big Brother taking control over your life and saying what you can and can't do. Period.
So this is going under Computer Fraud and Abuse Act.
Yeah, and what it comes down to is that the Department of Justice wants to be able to enforce terms of service on websites and if you violate any of those terms, it's a crime.
Let's see here.
Come on, let's face it. Nobody reads terms of services. They're just too long, and not only that, they're too long, but they're very difficult to understand at times.
Yeah, no. First of all, nobody reads it. This is like Bizarro World, huh? Let me see here.
It's you know what? This reminds me a little bit about the whole credit card issues. Remember a while ago, Congress got really fed up with credit card companies having all this fine print and these fees and everything, and they were like, all right, you need to stop these bad practices because people aren't aware of the bad practices that you're enforcing on them, and they made them change these rules. This is the same thing, in my opinion, because most people don't read or understand the terms of services for websites. So making these things a crime is very detrimental to people because it's just not fair that because they don't understand something that they're going to be held criminally liable for something.
Yeah, like I'll give an example. Google says you can't use a service if you're not legal age to form a binding contract, which implies that millions of teenagers would be inducted as criminals because you're breaking the terms of service. Match.com, meanwhile, says you can't lie about your age, criminalizing the profile of anyone not a model.
Yeah, it's just, see what they're saying here? They're just saying the law must allow, quote, prosecution based upon a violation of terms of service or a similar contractual agreement with an employer or provider.
Mm-hmm.
Are you kidding me?
Unbelievable.
You want to make everything on the internet illegal, basically, is what you're saying.
Well, I think that we're closing the gap between the internet and reality, right? But in reality, a lot of these services do not exist. Google is like the library. So we're criminalizing the fact that if, you know what I mean? Like if you break some sort of agreement between you and a company, now it's a criminal act.
Right.
Which makes
That's basically
no sense
what they're
to me.
saying.
Yeah, which pretty much what they're saying, which is crazy. Let's do our picks of the week. Why don't you go first this week?
All right, so my pick this week is ForShared. ForShared.com. It's a file hosting and file sharing cloud type of thing. There's a lot of these services out there, and I've been taking a look at a couple of them because I'm going away next week down to Nashville. But I want to be able to at least store some of my stuff online and be able to download them at a later time on my phone. And the easiest way for me to do this is to upload files to ForShared, which has a great amount of space. They say you get 10 gigabytes, but once you verify your account, they'll actually give you 15. Mm-hmm. Let me see if I can bring it up on my camera for you guys so that you can see this. This is what the website looks like. It's really cool. You get about 15 gigabytes of free space, and you can upload files up to 2 gigabytes, which is one of the things that I was really looking for. Is I looked at Box.net, but Box.net only allows you to upload files up to 100 megabytes, which for me, that's nothing, especially when you're looking at gigabytes of space and files that you want to upload. Like maybe you have a TV show or a couple of movies that you want to upload. 100 megabytes isn't enough, which is why I really like Foursquare is that they give you a decent amount of space, 15 gigabytes for free, and you can upload files up to 2 gigabytes. That to me makes it totally worth it. They also have mobile applications. They have Symbian, BlackBerry, iPhone, and Android. I tested out the iPhone one on my iPod Touch. Works great. I love it. You can also sign up for premium features that give you more space, up to 100 gigabytes of space. You can upload a max file size of 5 gigabytes. You get better download speed, and you can also resume files, which is really cool. So that's forshare.com.
Excellent. As many people know, I got a Kindle this week, the Kindle Fire. And a lot of people are complaining about the carousel, their, I guess, launcher, what it looks like. And I have had a Android phone for a while, and I was able to revert the device back to the original Android look, where you have widgets. You could have live wallpaper. So let me just set a live wallpaper here, and I'm going to tell you how I did it in just a second. Let me go to live wallpaper. Let me go to Nexus. So this is my favorite one. So as you can see, this is exactly what Android is like. Let's compare it to this. Where is it? Let me, if it'll work. There we go. If it'll work. There we go. Okay. So very similar. I mean, it's exactly like Android. What I am using, I have not rooted this phone, this device, and I know that there's a root out. You could root it now, but I'm using something called Go Launcher EX. It's in the Amazon store, surprisingly, and it's free. And it pretty much allows you to use this type of launcher rather than the Kindle launcher and just have all your apps just as if it's a regular Android tablet. I am going to root this once it's out, and I've heard some people cannot get it to stick when you reset the device. But for me, the launcher is sticking. It's not reverting back to the original carousel. There is a way to go back. If you want to go back, there is a way to go back. It's in the settings. If you just Google it, you can find it. I think we'll also put it on our website of how to go back to the original carousel look, their dashboard, their original dashboard for the device. But I think it's a pretty cool option that you could actually not use what they're using and use the basic Android function and actually change the wallpapers.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to do. Also, just installing an app. Just go into the Amazon App Store and go to just put in Launcher EX and you'll find it. It'll come up. But pretty cool that you could do this. Again, we're gonna wrap up the show a little bit early. I have to go get ready for the other show, and we're kind of pushed back a little bit today. But we'll be back to our regular schedule next week. Actually, no, you're not here next week for Thanksgiving. So, but we'll be back. No,
it's probably just gonna be you and Eric.
Me and Eric, yeah. So, but we'll figure it out. Sunkast, any plugs?
Yeah, I want to plug my new music blog website, Amadeus.com. That's AMADAIS. It's like Mozart, Amadeus, that kind of deal. I like to feature a lot of YouTube videos, people on YouTube doing covers of songs, which we mentioned earlier. Just, people that don't have a record contract or anything like that. They're just people that love to sing or want to be an album singer or want to have tours or anything like that. I like to feature those type of people. That's Amadeus.com.
Excellent, Sunkast. Thank you again, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and we'll see you next week on TNW.